probably need her cell number.
Yeah, because I don't have it.
Can I take off this mask?
Because she can. Five, two, seven, 3434. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that way.
And that should be the one.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
She's over there,
Okay.
and she can get to them as soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, how are you? I love you too.
You already might go.
You know it is. So from one thing to another.
Okay, sure, everything.
I'm so well. I saw a letter from, that Larry had sent. I was cleaning my, because he has, that stuff. And I thought, I said, next time I see him, how's he doing? He's doing wonderful. Okay.
Well, I'm going to say good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
We want to, oh, that was very weak. That was almost like in the Baptist church. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for taking time out to come and share with us as we hear from the candidate for the position of Dean in the College of Nursing. She was in the college on yesterday, and things went, thank you, and things went very well, very busy day, very full day on yesterday. Dr. Alyssa Harris, some of you have seen the campus-wide announcement, but just in case, she currently hails from Boston College, and they're in the School of Nursing, where she is a department head, and she'll share with you, I'm sure, a few other things, and then we want to maximize the opportunity for you to pose questions. So again, thank you for coming this morning and participating in this process. Dr. Harris.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming out to hear a little bit about me. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. It's an honor to be here, to be at Prairie View, and to speak with you about the College of Nursing and the opportunity here. So a little bit about myself. I currently reside in Boston, Massachusetts. I am not originally from Boston. My family is from North Carolina. And my father was in the Air Force, and we moved to Boston about 35 years ago now. So I come from a family of, there are 3 girls, so just the 5 of us. Everybody else is down south. My father was in the military, and his leadership skills kind of rubbed off on me. And so I've always been interested in leadership, so his strong leadership skills rubbed off on me. I started out as an associate degree nurse. I went to school in North Carolina, and we got transferred to Boston and ended up there. And so I have this history of being kind of a nurse clinician, scholar, and educator. I didn't, some people have this career path of kind of knowing where they wanted to go. That was never my thought. I just knew I wanted to be a nurse and see patients. And so I did see patients for a while in Boston. And then I returned to school because I only had my associate's degree. And at that time, I wanted to practice primary care nursing, which is 1-to-1. And in Boston, they wouldn't hire you unless you had a bachelor's degree. So I needed to return to school. And so that led me to Boston College. And so I worked at the Cambridge Hospital, which is for about 8 years while I went to school on their postpartum unit. And that was really an enlightening experience to me, because it really, even though I traveled all over the world, it really brought home the importance and the impact of culture on health. So I learned a lot from that. While at Boston College, I also learned the importance of research, nursing theory, in clinical practice. So I completed my bachelor's degree slowly, one course at a time over the course of 4 years, and continued on to my master's degree. And so I obtained a women's health NP and had the opportunity to work in a local urban community health center, Roxbury Comprehensive Community Health Center, which was a very different practice for me, but I grew to love the community health center. While there, I ran the adolescent department, the adolescent medicine department. I was the director of operations and director of nurses. And while there, I was able to grow the patient population. So I worked on the senior management team. We obtained grants for our breast and cervical cancer initiative, a diabetes educator. And it was really an important moment for me to be in the community health center. I practiced as an NP. I really grew to love the health center. I had been there for 30 years while I was there. And what the health center really taught me was that it really is the social determinants of health that really impact patient decision-making. And it helped drive that kind of perspective home to me. And so while I was there, I was really kind of working on trying to understand the patients, the context of their lives, and how I could think about interventions that would impact their lives and improve their health. And so I was there for about 13 years. And while there, I decided to go back to get pursue doctoral education. So I went back to Boston College. And it's a funny story. I used to always precept NP students, and my mentor at Boston College would say to me, she would send a student to me every year and say, and the student would say to me, "So Elisa, Joellen Hawkins says that you're coming back to school." And I'd say to them, "Tell Joellen when they give me some money, then I'll come back to your PhD program." So she finally showed up with money, and I decided to go. So I pursued my doctoral education at Boston College while working at the Community Health Center. And I developed a program of, after I completed my studies, I joined the faculty at Boston College. My mentor retired, and she asked me to join the faculty as a women's health NP and lead that, the women's health NP program. And I developed my program of research, which is based on adolescent sexual risk behaviors. And so I was able to obtain fundings from the National Institute of Health, the American Nurses Foundation, the Nurse Practitioners and Women's Health Organization, and really try to disseminate those findings. And so I was able to do that. And in 2011, I moved from the clinical track to the regular tenure track, and then continued to pursue my program of research, and then went on to obtain promotion and tenure in 2017. So I've been at Boston College for a while, and I began to look around for other opportunities. And so at Boston College, we elect our department chair, and I decided to run for that office. And so we are a department of the whole, so all 54 faculty, full-time faculty report to me, as well as part-time clinical faculty. And so I manage the day-to-day kind of operations of all the faculty. And that's been a really challenging but exciting role for me. It's helped me learn about academic administration. And so I've been there for a while doing that. But I've always been a person that's really thought it was important to step forward and to think about next steps. While at the so Boston College is a primary white institution. We have maybe 20% of students are what we call AHANA students, students of color on the university. The School of Nursing has the largest proportion of them, but that's still a small number when you think about it. But I've been always been really dedicated to working with students of color in the field of nursing. There are so few of us, and I really believe that if we're going to change all the health disparity, we need to have, patients really need to have nurses that look like them. So I've been working with students from across the curriculum, undergraduate students, graduate students, taking the time to mentor them. I've taken written papers with them, taken them with me to conferences, and that's been really important, I think, because they really need to understand nursing from across the kind of spectrum. I also have been really purposeful about seeking out and mentoring other students from across the city in Boston. So other African-American nurses that are interested in doctoral education or just nursing education in general. So I've taken time to do that, and that's really important to me. So as I think about this, my thought about, people ask me why Prairie View? Why am I interested in a historically Black college? And my mother asked me that question too, because she said to me, Lisa, you've been at Boston College for 13 years. The other schools that you have attended have always been primary white institutions. Why Prairie View? And I thought about it, but I also, as I thought about it, I thought to myself, you have really taken the time and invested energy to mentor nurses of color, because I think it is vitally important. And when I think about Prairie View and its excellent reputation in the College of Nursing, it made sense for me to apply for this role. I think it's vitally important that nurse leaders step up to the plate and mentor the next generation of nurses. If we're ever, the American Nurses Association and all the other nursing organizations talk about achieving health equity, but we really have to help students and work with students to help them understand across the kind of spectrum health disparities, how the impact that culture and health beliefs have on patient decision making. And so as I thought about this role, I really thought, as dean, I can make an impact. I'm really dedicated to working with faculty and students about helping them understand nursing, how we make a connection with the patients, why that is so vitally important. Because I think as you talk to patients about hypertension and diabetes, and as I talk to my patients about contraception and having healthy babies and all that stuff, it really is important to build this relationship with the patient and help that relationship between the nurse and the patient really does help you understand where the patient is coming from. And it's only by building that relationship can you guide patients or really understand the challenges that they face every day and why they make the decisions that they make. And so I'd like to be a part of, and I believe that I can assist students and the faculty and staff as they educate students. So that's a little bit, that's why I'm interested in Prairie View University. I do think I can tell you a little bit about my leadership style. People have been asking me about that. Some people say I'm really quiet, but I believe that's important because I believe I like to listen, really think about what people are saying, understand their problems and concerns, really kind of take that in, and then make a decision. I'm not a snap. Some people just are talking all the time and make snap decisions. That's not me. I really believe in inviting people in, getting to know them, talking to them, listening to their concerns. And so I believe I'm a collaborative person. And I think that's, as a dean, that's vitally important, the listening, the learning, the understanding, and working together. It's building this collaborative relationship. And so I would have to say, yeah, I'm not from Houston. And so coming in, if I were to be chosen as your dean, coming in, that first 6 months to a year, would be learning the history of Prairie View University, the College of Nursing, understanding what makes it tick, what's important to the students, the faculty and staff, working with them, and then developing a plan or a vision. So I'm not a person that, and I don't believe that a leader should come in and dictate things, because I would be new. And so it's learning what's important to the faculty, students, and staff about the College of Nursing, and keeping that long tradition. But it's also about moving the college forward, right? So I spoke with the president and the provost, and they are interested in moving the research trajectory of the school forward. And I think that's vitally important too. And why is that important? Because nursing has a perspective on health. And so we need to develop knowledge for our discipline to support the interventions that we design for patients. They need to be evidence-based. And so that is really about developing research and thinking about concepts and theories and all of that stuff. And it's about helping students understand research. But it's also about, and as I think about that, I've talked to a little bit of the professors in the school about some of the grants that they're working on. And so I'd like to build a school that has a significant research trajectory. And how do you do that? You do that first by kind of assessing where the faculty is, understanding what their interests are, looking around and seeing how we can support them, gathering the resources. And so whether it's developing grant writing workshops, publication writing workshops, we can do that, inviting other speakers in, to building collaborations across the Houston and the national collaborations, connecting faculty members with other people across the country that are interested in their research, and then guiding them and helping support them as they kind of achieve those goals. And I think that's a win-win situation. And I think it's going to be important in nursing. There's a lot of kind of grants out there or calls for requests for proposals about health disparities. And so I do realize that people are going to be looking towards Prairie View University to take part in that. But we also need to think about like what's in it for us. So one of the research projects that I'm working on now, I'm in a research group at Mass General Hospital at the Munn Center for Nursing Research. We have been talking about, since all the social justice mission, all the statements that a lot of institutions have put out, a lot of the hospitals and all of medical institutions have put out the statement about being anti-racist, being, we're supporting health equity and all of that. And so our research is really looking at the healthcare environment and how that's changed for nurses. So we're developing finishing up developing a survey. And the questions that we were going to ask nurses is, what was your practice like, the clinical environment that you were in prior to the murder of George Floyd? And then tell us a little bit about that practice environment after your institution put out new statements, new policies. Have they been educating people? What does that look like you? Has the environment changed? Are people stepping up to the plate when they encounter racist comments or discrimination from other providers or patients or families that are visiting the hospital? And I think that why we're so interested in that is because people, I kind of feel like people have jumped on the bandwagon, but they need to put their money where their mouth is. And so I'm interested to see how that, the results of that survey. We're planning to, I'm in the process of writing the IRB, IRB right now, and we'll be sending that out in August to nurses and the Massachusetts Nurses Association, getting those responses. So I think that there's a lot that the pandemic brought out in the last year. There's going to be a lot of people are really interested in health disparities and really moving health equity forward. And I do think that Prairie View and the College of Nursing should be a part of that, and we should look for that. We have nursing has a unique perspective, and we need to kind of think about what our role is in developing knowledge and achieving health equity. So I'm trying to think what else I would like to. So let me stop there and see if you have any particular questions for me.
I do.
Yeah.
And for those of you, I have introduced myself to Dr. Harris, but I'm Harriet Howard Whitlock, Department Head of Biology. But I have to go back to what you said that your mother asked you. And I'm going back to that because I think mothers know their children very, very well. So thinking in reference to your statement about that and knowing a little bit about the population at Boston College and definitely knowing about the population at Prairie View A&M University, how do you feel that you are prepared, and before the preparation question is answered, I guess I need to know what type of African American student do you work with, counsel with, and help prepare at Boston College? And what do you expect of that student that you will deal and work with at Prairie View A&M University? And I'm asking that only because of your mother asking you, basically, do you really, really want to do this? So and that's it, just, yes.
Yeah. So, you know, I did think long and hard about it. So the types of students that we have at Boston College really do run the gamut. The African American students tend to be of lower SES, so it really is a struggle. So Boston College is an expensive school. It costs about $75,000 a year to attend Boston College, and it's only going up. And those students really do run the gamut. The Boston College students come from across the country. And they're smart students, but they come to Boston College and they really do struggle a little bit. As we were talking a little bit earlier about chemistry and micro and all of that. So those students, I take the time to meet with, talk about, help them with their studies, help them with remedial things that I can do with them, talk to them about nursing. And really, I try to not just help them with their studies, but kind of be a mentor across the board, tell them a little bit about what nursing is, why it's important, why we need them. It is, when I think about this, I've been very deliberate because I've been at Boston College and I have been the only. And I've been the only on the faculty for a while until the last year when we had another African-American person join us. And it is lonely not to have somebody else that looks like you, who understands where you come from, who understands the struggles. And so we do have students that run the gamut at Boston College. And I do counsel people that are more affluent. So it's a little bit of, it's a mix of students. But I think what's the challenges at Boston College is that the students sometimes don't feel like they fit in. And knowing somebody that's on the faculty, and working with the students and being able to reach out to me I believe has really helped them, help the students. And so as I, thought about my mother, asking me, am I sure? I was very sure about applying for the position because I believe, as an African-American nurse, in counseling all types of students and patients, that I have something to give back. And that there are so few African-American nurses in the country that we need to step forward. And I believe I've been purposeful about seeking out and reaching students of color and talking to them about nursing, that I really feel if I'm mentoring students at Boston College, then why wouldn't I want to mentor students and work with faculty at Prairie View University? So I'm not sure if I answered your question well enough, but it really, I have been really thoughtful and deliberate about thinking about it. But I really feel like it's important to me. And I'm not saying that I know everything, because nobody knows everything, but I'd say I'm willing to listen and learn and to work with the students. And I think that's what's most important.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Carmen Carter, and I work in academic affairs. And I'm really interested in your administrative experience. I'm unclear how long you've been a department head. So could you clarify that and maybe give us an example or talk a little bit about some of the challenges you faced, whether it be with student issues or faculty issues, as you've moved to administration?
Yeah, so I've been so let me back up a little bit. When I first joined the faculty at Boston College, I stepped up and was elected as the assistant department chair. And so I do have an assistant department chair now. And then I've been in this role. This is my third year as department chair. So at Boston College, the department chair is responsible. All the faculty report to me. And when I make assignments, I do evaluations. I walk people through the tenure, help them prepare for the tenure process, the contract renewal process. I also deal with student issues. I'm also the Women's Health NP program director, and that means I have a cohort of women's health NP students that I manage. It's usually 10 to 15 students, plus all the other students that are coming behind them. And so I deal with student issues on a regular basis and faculty issues on a regular basis. And so some of the challenges with students right now are just in Boston, we really did close down for the pandemic. And so students have been really challenged to find clinical sites. And so it's really managing students' expectations when they expected to have a lot of clinical sites. And so really that's about talking to students. I also, we have a lot of students that move from across the country. And so moving to Boston in this brand new city where they don't know anybody is really about supporting them and really understanding their perspective of and helping them through the kind of educational process. I also do work with, as the department chair, I handle student grievances. So if there's a problem, a student has a problem with a grade in a class or they're not getting along with the faculty, I try to work to kind of mediate those grievances. So initially, if the student approaches me, I would say to them, please, have you talked to the faculty member first? Have you tried to negotiate that with them first? And try to send them back if they haven't done that. If not, then the grievance would come to me, and then I would meet with the student and then meet with the faculty member to see what the problem is and see if we can solve the solution. If not, then it gets kicked. The grievance rises to the level of the undergraduate dean or the graduate dean. And so I work with those on those issues. And in terms of faculty, I mentor faculty also. We have a number of people that are on the tenure track, a number of people that are clinical track faculty So we have a process at Boston College where everybody gets peer evaluations, teaching evaluations. People cannot achieve tenure at Boston College without great teaching evaluations. And so as part of our annual reviews, we review everybody's evaluation. I review their teaching evaluations with them. And if I identify problems with their teaching, then I try to assist in developing a kind of peer teaching plan for them, maybe sending them off to Campus Resources, our Center for Teaching Excellence, to help them guide those. I also work with faculty as they are working and developing their programs of research. Some challenges that I'm facing now, one of the biggest challenges is that, you know, of course, we all closed down for the pandemic, and people, my faculty, really don't want to come back to campus. They would like to stay on Zoom. And I can understand they're scared and nervous about coming back to campus. And so I've been really trying to understand their perspective, but also help them understand that our university has said that we will be open in the fall, and they expect classes, people that are in-person classes, that is the contract we have made with students when they have signed up to come to Boston College. And they're not paying all that money to have a Zoom class, right? And so for me, I've been doing this kind of dance negotiation, talking with faculty about why that's important, and then kind of helping them kind of figure out what their life plans are. So I've faced some significant challenges with that. And, you know, as we close with the pandemic, everybody was kind of in a panic. So really not this past spring, the spring before, working with faculty as they transition their classes to in-person to on Zoom. That was a significant challenge for clinical classes. Even those students went to clinical, you know, having a kind of hybrid in-person and Zoom. So making those assignments, kind of helping them make their transition as we move back to in-person. At Boston College this last year, we've made the transition, or making the transition from a master's degree program to a DNP program. And I know the college has had, the College of Nursing has had a DNP program here for a while, but it took Boston College a while to kind of make that transition. And so I've been working with our graduate dean and undergraduate dean on redesigning the curriculum. And so we've been doing that process for the last 2 to 3 years. And this year is our first, this year and last year is our kind of first cohort of DNP students that are coming through. And so we've been having some kind of challenges with the curriculum. You never know what curriculum is going to look like until, you know, you're actually going through it. And so I've been spending time this past spring and this summer working with the graduate dean and the undergraduate dean and tweaking the curriculum so that it works better for students. You know, when they're going through it, then you see problems and you need to kind of tweak that. And so it's really about thinking about syllabi. So we've had this year, or this semester, we took and combined some of our graduate courses, that the adult gero, the women's health, and the family tracks together, and putting them in and kind of educating them together instead of educating everybody all separate. So kind of a primary care model in the beginning. And that's been new for us. We've all just kind of had our own classes. So the other thing that I do is I am the Women's Health MP Program Director. So that means I have a class of students that I teach every Tuesday during the year. And so I lecture to them, find them clinical placements, go out, meet with their preceptors, and kind of help them through the process of advanced practice nursing and help them learn the role. The program has been really successful. We've had 100% pass rate for the last 10, 15 years that we've been there. Our undergraduate nursing NCLEX rate is about 96%, I think, 96, 97%. And so the students do really well on the NCLEX. And so as a part of the senior management team, the leadership team at Boston College, I really try to work with our current dean, and the graduate and undergraduate deans and our chief financial officer to make sure that the budget and the school is running well. All right, did I answer it? Thank you.
John Gardner, Assistant Vice President for Academic Engagement and Student Success. We know that some of our students have financial challenges. And so I guess my question to you would be, what experience do you have with fundraising to support students to continue their academic journey?
Yes. So that is an important question because I do realize that students have challenges, and fundraising is really important to college in general. So I have been working with the dean as the department chair, going out and meeting different fundraisers, foundations. So one of the significant foundations that I've been involved in, Boston College had what we called a KILN program, a Keys to Inclusive Leadership and Nursing program. It was initially a HRSA funded grant, which I helped to write, that took first generation underrepresented college students in, and we gave them peer tutors and mentoring, and they had a faculty mentor also. We had the grant for 3 to 5 years, and then we needed to seek funding to support it. So it's been going on for 10 years. So I've been a part of the fundraising activities surrounded by that grant. So we reached out to the Coca-Cola Foundation. They were able to fund us for a couple of years, and the Price Foundation was able to do that. Other funding opportunities that I've been involved with, it is about helping fundraisers understand the importance of nursing and what nursing can bring to the table. So it is really kind of crafting and building that elevator speech that I like to speak about. So although I'm not the main person, I do partner with the dean as she goes out to meet with all the kind of fundraisers that we have in Boston and around the kind of country as they come to campus. So I do have some experience.
Thank you. I'm Michelle DeBose. I'm from the College of Nursing. Saw your presentation yesterday. So my question is related to faculty. You said you supervised about 54 faculty members, I guess, including clinical adjuncts, perhaps, or clinical assistant.
They're separate.
Okay.
Additional people.
Okay. A number of faculty.
Yeah, number of faculty.
Okay. How do you, can you provide an example for us to show that you have ensured that all faculty have received access to opportunities to either promote their research or increase their clinical practice, so that it's just not a handful of people that are doing the work, but people all across your faculty are getting opportunities. So can you provide some examples of that, including those, non-tenured, tenured, track, post-tenure people, sort of what's going on with that? Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so it's definitely important that we help people with their clinical practice and their research. So as part of our annual review process, we meet with each faculty member, ask them their goals for the year, look at their teaching evaluations, what if they're writing publications or grants, talk about that, discuss the resources that they need, figure out who we can connect them with. So one of the things that I think is really important is really kind of building these research teams that include both clinical and PhD prepared faculty as experts. And so one of the things that we did at Boston College, which I thought was really great and fun, was we call it speed dating, but it's speed research dating, right? So you sit around in the circle, everybody, because everybody's so scattered, they don't know what each other's doing. So we created this model where people come and they do speed dating. So you tell me, I tell you what I'm doing, you tell me what I'm doing, and people go, oh, I know somebody who can help you with that. And so we really try to, as I meet with people every year, we try to monitor what they're, who they've been connected to. I lead our faculty assembly and our faculty department meeting every month, and we talk about opportunities for grants or publications or awards that might be coming up. And so then as I'm meeting with people at their annual review and making appointments with the people, I try to keep in mind, Jackie said she was interested in writing an article on, she's a pharmacology instructor. So I partnered her with somebody else to do that. This one was interested in, she's working on a clinical research problem at Mass General. So what's her name's at Mass General? Let me see if I can connect them together. So it's a really deliberate process of making sure that, as part of annual reviews, kind of keeping track of who's doing what and what their interests are, and making sure that their needs are met. And I think that, I have an open door policy of having people come back and talk to me as they need resources. And so it is really kind of thinking about what's this one's goals for the year, what projects are they working on, or what are they hoping to accomplish, and how can I connect them to the resources or mentoring that they might need. So I work with we do have an associate dean for research to kind of go through those, the people that are on the tenure track. We also have this program that we call SEERS. It's scholars. It's a kind of peer mentoring program for all the people on the clinical track. This year, I worked really hard to make sure that our tenure track, make sure that our clinical track faculty that were interested in conducting research and writing publications were a part of that peer review process. People bring their specific aims and their kind of research ideas, and it gives them an opportunity to sit around and talk about them and really critique each other's research and kind of think about next steps. And so those are the kind of the ways that I do it right now. And I think it's important that, so one of the things, when I first started at Boston College, they were really focused on their tenure track faculty and not so much the clinical track faculty. But I'm a firm believer that, you can't have just research without any clinical. Nursing is based in clinical. And so we need to partner these people together. So I've been really deliberate about pulling clinical faculty in on research and QI projects and getting them interested in things that are going on in their institutions and partnering people together. And I think it's been really successful. You're welcome.
All right, well, I want to thank all of you who have taken part in the discussion this morning. I thank you for your questions, and I thank Dr. Harris for her responses as well. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And again, we appreciate your participation.
Thank you so much.